Bleeding Purple, a podcast about the Minnesota Vikings. My name is Tyler Haig, and I am joined, as always, by Mr. Adam Patrick. Hello, good sir.
What's up?
I'm not even going to ask if you can hear me. God, I ruined it. So that clip at the beginning of our, our theme song, or whatever that's called, Minneapolis Miracle, God, does that seem like forever ago? It was basically a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
But, man...
Yeah, it was a little difficult watching the playoffs this weekend.
Yes.
As much as I know the Vikings probably wouldn't have done much this year, it would have been nice for them to play an extra game, get that chance. Totally. Look at the Eagles. They went in Chicago and got the win.
Also, real quick, Nick Foles, what?
He didn't even play that well.
No, he didn't.
But
they keep winning.
At the end of the game, he did. So then that's all that mattered.
I just am so.
And then the Bears were just like, well, we're the only, NFC North team in this year, so we have to miss the kick.
Yeah, we obviously, because there's nobody else to have the kicking mishap, we've got to step up here. And they did a great job of that, of handling the kicking debacle duties. I know, I always feel so bad for those kickers. Not in the long term, but right after the game when they miss that and then they know they have to go and deal with the press, who, of course, never really want to talk to the kicker except when you make
miss.
Or miss. Yeah, the big kick.
I don't even think they'd want to talk to him when they make it. It's mostly when they miss.
Who are you rooting for in that game, by the way? Because I think that's a very interesting topic of conversation for Vikings fans.
I was just hoping for the stadium to explode, so I didn't really care.
I almost spit my coffee everywhere.
I didn't really care who won that game. I was rooting for the Cowboys.
I have never been more indifferent on a game in my life. Like, I just could not have cared any less who won or lost the game, or they missed a kick. Big deal.
Happens they're like, the Eagles are going to go in, to New Orleans and upset the Saints, and like, no, they're not. They're going to get killed.
Yeah, I just don't see that happening for them. I think New Orleans is really good. Back to the Vikings. So we've heard some things as far as, here we are the offseason. It's sad to not be at the party, obviously. But life moves on for the Vikings. Specifically, head start on the offensive coordinator position. It's an important piece, Adam. We've learned this over the last however many games this entire season. Offensive coordinator is not something to be taken lightly. We still don't have an offensive coordinator. We have conflicting reports about Kevin Stefanski and whether or not he is or is not interested in staying. We're going to find out a lot about this tomorrow because his contract is up Tuesday. Yep. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? Where do you think they're going to go with offensive coordinator right now? What do you think the play is here for the Vikings?
Well, it looks like it's not going to be Stefanski. I think it was Charlie Walters that said that.
Yeah.
Pioneer Press or whatever.
Yeah, that confused me. Pioneer Press Vikings reporter who wasn't Chris Thomason. What? Who? What? Excuse me?
Yeah, some of the older guys have sources, I guess. But doesn't look like it's going to be Hugh Jackson. Some people are relieved with that. I wouldn't really minded that either way.
No, it would not have bothered me for the reasons we touched on last week, because I feel like he gets along with Mike Zimmer, and that maybe is the most important thing. Even more important than scheme.
Had good offenses in the past. They run the ball. His offense runs the ball a lot. He has head coaching experience. Not that it was great.
Kind of
experience, but he has that experience. Like Tony Sparano had head coaching experience. He wasn't the greatest head coach either.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
And then I guess Mike Mularkey's moved into the mix now as a potential big, the strong candidate or whatever, and that's fine too. His offenses, they've been built around the run in the past, and I think he's with the Falcons and the Steelers and the Jaguars or something like that. And then Dirk Cutter today apparently got into the mix today, which
really I did not even hear that.
Yeah, I don't know how much I believe into that because his offense is mostly pass oriented.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how much I really believe in that. I think he's the rumors that he's probably going to be the guy in Atlanta, but apparently he's probably just doing his due diligence and
Yeah, covering all his bases and
yeah, just in case.
for sure. Let
But
me.
yeah, other than those guys, I don't know if they really interviewed anyone.
Yeah, I hadn't even heard about Dirk Cutter, so that was like the whole list as far as I was concerned. Let me pose it to you this way: you're the GM. Who do you pick? You can pick anybody, not just from that list, but like open it
Well,
up
it looks
to.
well. I mean, if they really like Malarkey, I think that would be a
Mhm,
good pick. Just not even because like he's an amazing offensive coordinator or whatever, but he has what the head coach is looking for.
mhm.
Feel like he runs the
Feels
ball
it feels
a good
safe,
amount of
doesn't it?
time. Yeah, good
Yeah.
amount of time. He's had success in the past. I think he's had an offense that scored like the fourth most points in the league. That was
Mhm.
with like Falcons. Um, he's been a head coach. He's got that experience, which Zimmer likes
Yep.
clearly.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that would be a good choice. I think he's interviewed with a couple other teams, maybe the Jaguars.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that would be a good choice. Or some other guys, maybe like Jim Bob Cooter still out there. He's
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of a pass happy guy though too.
He is a little bit.
Um, Jeremy Bates, I think, might be a good pick. He was offensive coordinator for the Jets last year, and
Okay.
he was the guy. He was one of the guys where that was a big reason why Kirk Cousins really even had any interest in the Jets, because he said he would be fun to work with him because Bates is a Mike Shanahan guy. He worked under him, worked with Kyle Shanahan, so they're kind of and Sean McVay, so they're all kind of in the same, come from the same area and do the same kind of thing. So I would like to see him, but still with the Jets. He's on that staff, but I would feel like when the Jets get a new head coach, they're probably gonna
Clean
kick their
everybody out and
yeah,
bring
yeah
new
bring their
guys
own
in.
bring their own guys in. So maybe that guy, maybe the Vikings are waiting on something like that to happen.
Mhm.
But if Malarkey's picked, it wouldn't be, even if Hugh Jackson's picked, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I have my doubts more probably about Stefanski, honestly, than some of the other guys that have been mentioned because he just doesn't have experience calling plays.
Yeah. Exactly. And from what I mean, the first
And they
game
just
was
did they
good,
just
but
did that with DiFilippo.
that's what I was just gonna say is they just did the same thing with another guy and it didn't work, and you had to bring this dude Stefanski in as interim. You saw kind of what he was going to be able to do because that was, I mean,
Yeah,
that
bad
was 4
teams.
games, wasn't it?
3.
3 still, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's enough to kind of understand where he's going to go with things, and yeah, I don't know. I feel like the worst thing that the Vikings can do with this hire is take a big chance on somebody that could be really great, but also has a huge chance of not succeeding at all. Which
Just
to
get
me was
someone,
the
yeah.
DiFilippo. Like, get somebody safe. Get somebody who's done. Like, this is terrible for me to say because it is like very hypocritical, which is as far as how I've been talking about this coach for a pretty long time on this program. But a guy like Norv Turner,
Yeah.
that's the OC you need, is an old dude who's dealt with everybody, who knows how to operate. And I
Maybe
mean,
not specifically.
no, God, no, not Norv Turner specifically, but someone like that. Like someone who has been around the block, who understands where Mike Zimmer is coming from, who understands maybe what he's saying when he
Who's not a young whippersnapper who wants to
yes, where there's like a language
prove himself.
barrier. Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. Because it's like it seems like I mean, obviously, the sexy thing to do right now is like, are you, or have you ever spent any time with Sean McVay? Are you over 18? You're in.
Yeah, the Packers just signed what? Matt LaFleur? Or
Yeah.
not signed, but made he's the reported that he's the new head coach. He's another young offensive minded guy. I think he worked with Sean McVay. He was there with the Rams in his first year, so
Yeah,
that's
and it's
that's,
like
that's what everyone wants now these days. And then
It is.
it's trendy. I think it's not going to last
No, it
because I
will
think
not.
defenses are going to catch up, and then something else will come along.
Exactly.
They'll be like running the ball is in again, something like that.
Or somebody will come up with a creative way to run the ball really well, and and everybody that they've ever worked with will have to get hired into these positions. It happens all the time. We've seen it before. This is what happens. I feel like, and I want this because I don't really like the Packers, but those are the kind of hires. It's it's 2 years after, and it's like, well, we got to get one of these guys, and then you get the quarterback coach from some rando team, and it doesn't work out, and like, obviously that's what I'm hoping for the Packers, But it feels like the Vikings are about to do that, or tried to do that last season. Like, do that same sexy hire, didn't work out. Get somebody that you know is going to be good. The Stefanski thing, back to that real quick. Perplexing, because you have a guy who has been around a really long time reporting it, and then another couple of guys who have also been around a really long time, who also have great sources, saying, I don't think this is what's actually happening here. I don't know where to go. I wouldn't be mad if they went with Stefanski necessarily.
Maybe he's just getting tired of waiting around for an opportunity when he could just go somewhere else and probably get it.
It feels like at this point, from his perspective, that's got to be the play, right? Like, what other reason do you have to stick around? Like, it sure doesn't feel like they want to give you that job, does it? At this point,
right.
Like,
yeah, they're like, I don't know. You have to do your due diligence with that too. You have to make sure that, especially with what happened, last year with who they hired to be the offensive coordinator, and how Zimmer even said like he could have done better in the interview process and asked more questions to figure out exactly what DeFilippo was about, which kind of boggled my mind because that's kind of important when you're hiring a guy to run your offense.
Thank you so much for bringing it up that way, because that was my first thought too, was what did you talk to him about in there if you didn't do enough to understand what he was planning on doing throughout the season as your offensive coordinator?
I kind of feel like Spielman might have been like, oh, let's get this guy. He was just with the Eagles. They won the Super Bowl. He was with Carson Wentz and Nick Foles. So, he's on the up and up. He could have been a head coach. So let's bring him in. Zimmer was probably like, yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, sounds great. And then also the Zimmer angle is I got to ask this guy what they saw in my defense that allowed them to destroy us in that final game. And I think there's a lot of weight to that too.
Come to find out, DeFilippo probably didn't have a whole lot to do with what the Eagles did.
No, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think he had much say in it.
Frank Reich and Doug Peterson.
Mm-hmm. And that Frank Reich looks pretty smart these days.
Yeah.
Moving on from the offensive coordinator to another coaching position that maybe I thought, and maybe other fans, maybe you included, thought that this coaching position would be open, but it turns out maybe not. And the Vikings reportedly are looking at bringing back special teams coordinator, coach, whatever his title is, Priefer. So,
yep.
Mike Priefer. A, how do you feel about it? And B, do you think they should have made a different move? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's special teams coach. It's not offensive line coach.
No.
Or offensive coordinator. I mean, they did do a lot of things well on special teams this year. They had a good return game, punt return game, I feel like. Mm-hmm. Kickoff return could have been better, but some guys got hurt. I think they were kind of depending on Mike Hughes to do a lot with that.
That was his spot. And then they signed Rando Abdullah to just do that.
And then the kicking thing, I don't know if that was kind of out of his hands when Carlson was cut or not, if that was just Zimmer's decision to be like, no, get him out of here.
Yeah.
Or if Priefer had something to do with that. And then bring in a brand new guy to work with brand new long snapper and holder. Mm-hmm. Not the most ideal, situation for a coach to be in.
No.
Which, people want to blame Priefer for the kicking game. I think we brought it up a couple times. Like, maybe it's his fault, but you kind of look more into it, look at the circumstances, and be like, it's got a lot going against him for him to succeed. And the punting game, the punter did well. First year he did well.
I mean, he did okay. Quigley should be the punter still.
Pretty well.
No, you're right. And
coverage was good. I don't think did they allow a punt return or a kick return. I don't think they did this year.
No, I don't think so. Actually, I think you are correct.
Maybe a couple long returns, but nothing.
Yeah, and I mean that happens in the NFL too. I guess the question, the special teams question, to me just hinges on can you blame the special teams coach for your kickers consistently missing important kicks?
I think
if you feel like you can, then he's got to go. But if you feel it's not his fault, then he can stay.
It's hard with kickers, but I think once the special teams, the coverage starts getting bad and the returners start, not knowing what to do, fair catch or not, then you start looking at the special teams coach and being like, okay, I think we got to get somebody else in here because it's hurting our team. But
That
outside
hasn't
of the
happened.
outside of the kicker, I think everything else is pretty good for the Vikings. I don't know if Sherrills is going to come back next year. He's free agent.
Mm.
Probably will because he's
He's just there always.
like a cockroach in a
Nuclear
apocalypse.
Marcus Sherrills crawls out from under the fridge.
And then I think Matt Wiles a free agent too. Dan Bailey's a free agent, so they can have like all new guys in there next year.
Yes, they could.
I wouldn't mind if they brought back Weil. I don't know what Bailey wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind him coming back either.
Yeah, I'd be fine with both of those guys coming back.
Please don't draft a kicker.
Yeah, don't do that.
Ever again.
Yeah, it's unnecessary. I think
draft another tight end if you have to. I don't care.
Oh, even worse.
But yeah. Oh,
it's really. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna go off topic, so I'll let you.
It's really interesting to me for the special teams. It's the only coach that you would like the most important position for them. Like if you had a defensive coordinator who had a really good run defense for 6 years, but constantly gave up big passes and big moments to lose games, that guy loses his job. If you have an offensive coordinator who's got a wonderful running game and a wonderful whatever, but a quarterback who can't get it done, he gets fired. And now you have a special teams coach who's got great coverage and great punt teams, but for however many years cannot get his kickers to make kicks when they need him or them to make kicks.
I think
but he gets
put some of the
job.
You can put some of the blame on somebody like Spielman though too, because he's the guy. He's the one bringing people in.
And I'm not even saying necessarily that it's the wrong way to think about it, because I think it is. Special teams are goofy. It's different, like it's not the same as an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. But it's really interesting to me that because the other stuff is so good, we're almost willing to put up with, because he's not kicking the ball at the end of the day, I don't know. It's just interesting to me that we're not blaming him for those missed kicks.
He's been there a while too. I think Mike Zimmer probably likes the way he does stuff.
Definitely. And I think that the been there a while part is like part of what's interesting is that he's been there long enough where, I mean, you maybe could point to him as part of the reason they can't make kicks. Not that I'm saying it's his fault. I'm just saying
he was there before Zimmer.
Yeah. He's been there a long time. Yeah, Longwell
because he got in trouble. He got in trouble with Cluey.
Yes, he did. Because he said, speaking of nukes, he said something about an island. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Rainbow
Island or something.
Yeah, some Rainbow Island. Yeah, something about an island.
Oh, I was going to ask you, going off topic.
Yeah.
Because I thought of this last night. I was like, if I told you before the season even started, the Vikings were going to sweep the Packers and Kirk Cousins was going to throw for over 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions, you would be. And what would you think they'd make the playoffs?
Oh, I'm 100%. I would have asked you. I would have asked you when the Super Bowl was.
Right.
Like, I would have been like all in.
But it's all Kirk Cousins' fault.
Yeah, man. It's so amazing to me how, like, back to the beginning of the show with the miracle, how much differently we can look at that team in that situation, even though they got destroyed by Philadelphia and didn't wind up doing anything after a game that they should have lost in the playoffs. Those they're only like that team just shines and is so great to us. But now this team is like basically the same guys, but Kirk Cousins instead of Case Keenum, and we just are disgusted with how bad this team is. As fans, like collectively. And
people like to bring up Kirk Cousins, not showing up against the Bears or whatever. Don't care to realize that the Bears probably have the best defense in the NFL this year.
Mm-hmm.
So
if not the best, definitely in the top 5.
Please don't ignore that.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's super easy. This is such a strange season because
Dalvin Cook didn't do anything that game either.
Yeah, man, you could go through the entire group and do
Thielen
that
didn't get
open. To all of those teams. Where was Diggs? Where was Thielen? Where was Rudolph? Where was Cook?
It does come with the position, I guess. Quarterbacks get all the glory, and then
they get the blame as well. But you could go through that offense and like pick games that every dude disappeared. And you could make you could say like, well, if Kirk isn't throwing him the ball, what's he supposed to do? Yeah.
But that's why they paid him $84 million to come in and put the team on his back and win those big games.
Yeah, dude. I just have such a tough time with the idea that
Nah.
Paying a guy a lot of money equals...
It's not even a lot anymore.
No, it's not. Or just the idea that giving the number one free agent at that position the highest amount of money, not ridiculous. And B, expecting that player to turn into something else because that number hit a certain like give me a break. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm getting really tired of the that angle, the
$84 million.
Yeah, and not just the money
that he was brought in to
yes, that he was brought in
put him on their back.
Yeah, that he was brought in to throw the ball 60 times for 70 touchdowns every season, and that is totally not what they were bringing him in to do at
they
all.
Wanted to run a similar offense to it. They wanted to pretty much use him the same way they used Case Keenum, he's more accurate and he has a better arm.
Yes. They wanted to upgrade their quarterback position. They looked at Case Keenum and they looked at him and they said, yes, that's an upgrade at basically everything, and we'll take it.
I think I wrote something about this earlier this week, and I looked up when he was with the Redskins for 3 years, he had 16 games with at least 40 pass attempts, and his record was horrible because you don't want him throwing that much.
No.
So this year he did that 7 times in 1 year. He had over 40 pass attempts.
Yeah.
So and the Vikings threw the ball more in the second quarter than the fourth quarter. So it's not like a lead situation where you're down at the end of the game, so he's got to throw a lot more. No, it's DeFilippo's just
it's prime time. Yeah, we're just going to throw the ball. And that's what frustrates me so much, is that because of that, people are now looking at this team and looking at him as a player and being like, well, this is just not going to work. He's a bust. This is not worth it. And it's like, no, Michael Jordan would have looked like, not that he's Michael Jordan, but Michael Jordan would have looked like garbage if you would have only had him doing things that he wasn't great at. If you had him just shooting three-pointers, he would have been garbage.
Good example. Look at Michael Jordan when he had Doug Collins as his coach.
Yeah.
And they go and get Phil Jackson, and then all of a sudden, everything starts clicking.
So, look at the Rams.
Get somebody in there who knows, how to minimize Cousins' mistakes, maximize his strengths.
Oh, my God. Adam, how many years are we going to bring this up and talk about it? Why, as a coaching staff, would you ever build a game plan around something that your quarterback doesn't do well, when there are other things that he does well and you're ignoring them?
They just should just do it well, just because.
Oh, well, we practice it, so he should be better at it by now. That's not how this works. He's not a rookie. He's not a third-year guy. He's a veteran in the league now. He's not that guy.
He's shown what he can do and what he can't do. So there's no reason to try and make him into something he's not.
Oh, my God. Yes. I'm glad we got there. That's what I've been trying to say for weeks. Stop asking him to do stuff he's not good at, and he will be worth that money.
So many people, even the national media, are writing oh, Kirk Cousins is a bust and $84 million bust. And it's I understand you guys are trying to make headlines and stuff, but you need to look into it more, because obviously you don't really know what's going on, and you're like, oh, he got an offensive coordinator fired. It's like, no, the offensive coordinator got himself fired because he didn't listen to the head coach.
If you look at that situation and think that Kirk Cousins got the offensive coordinator fired, you have not been watching the. And the other thing,
when people are like, oh, well, Mike Zimmer's going to have his 5th offensive coordinator in so many years or whatever, and I look, one quit.
Yeah.
That was probably because of Zimmer. So he had to replace him.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the replacement left because he got a head coaching job. That's not
so successful that he had to leave for
Zimmer's fault.
A promotion, exactly.
And then he hired someone who they thought was good, and then he had to fire him and replace him. You can't just not replace him, so that makes 4. So 2 of those guys were replacements. So I don't think you can even count those.
That's exactly.
He's going to have 5 offensive coordinators in 5 years. It's it's just so stupid.
Yeah, I mean, it's not.
It's not like he fires and hires a new one every year.
Yeah.
That's what people are making it sound like. Like he's so hard to work with, and just everyone just can't stand him, and he has to leave.
Yeah, and it's not even close. That's not even close to
No.
the situation that we're dealing with here. So yeah, that's like, see, and that's the kind of stuff. Yes, off season is fun because we get to stir the pot and we get to hot take whatever. But that's where the off season starts to frustrate me, is you begin to skew takes into different things that really don't apply to what was actually happening there.
You get people that are starting to write stuff about the Vikings that haven't been
covering
watching them all year.
Exactly.
Don't really know what's going on, and just looking at highlights and little news snippets and being like, oh, this is what's going on.
Yeah, and when you read it on paper, then that, of course, is an easy assessment. Well, 5 and 4 years, I mean, that's easy to write about. That has to be controversial. What's the problem here? And it's like, well, no, but if you look at it, it's not that big of a deal. Some awards given out this year. All-Pro team and a couple of dudes. Were you surprised, first of all, let me say this. Well, let's say who they were. Hunter, Danielle Hunter, Harrison Smith. I almost gave it away. Second team All-Pro. Both of them. No Anthony Barr on that list. Also, no Adam Thielen
Pro Bowl
on that list. Yeah, Pro Bowl's important.
Anthony Barr made the Pro Bowl. Didn't you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Four Pro Bowls.
Mm-hmm. It's really important, the Pro Bowl, these days. I'm not sure if they don't play it in Hawaii anymore, but don't let that fool you, Adam. Still very, very important.
The Pro Bowl is so important that the linebacker for the Seahawks, KJ Wright, he's played 5 games this year. He's a Pro Bowl alternate.
I mean, with 5 games?
Yeah.
That's pretty easy. I don't mean this to say I didn't like Teddy Bridgewater, that Teddy Bridgewater is bad.
Yeah,
but Pro Bowl quarterback Ted Bridgewater?
Please don't use that.
That's tough.
Case Keenum didn't make the Pro Bowl, though. So,
do you feel like Thielen was snubbed on the All-Pro list, or do you think it was... Because that's a pretty exclusive club we have to remember.
I think you can make that argument, because he had a pretty darn good season. I don't care if he floundered at the end or whatever. What he did in the first half of the year should be, factored into whether or not he's an All-Pro or not. And he had, over 100 catches, 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns. But the guys they picked, I mean, it was DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, Tyreek Hill, there's somebody else. I can't remember. But it wasn't Antonio Brown. Oh, Michael Thomas.
Really?
Yeah, Antonio Brown was an All-Pro. So there's some good guys that were left off the list. I think, the argument can be made for Thielen. But if maybe, it's a little recency bias probably.
Mm-hmm.
Danielle Hunter definitely deserved to be on there.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Harrison Smith did. And, Mike Remmers, he should have been on there, but...
Sometimes you get robbed, man. Sometimes you got to go.
Yeah,
Who's the punter, man? That's my question.
Yeah.
I mean, that should have been Quigley, probably, but...
I think that's probably all that deserved All-Pro. Maybe, Sheldon Richardson, maybe?
Yeah, that's not All-Pro level. He was really good. He was,
Pro Bowl level.
Pro Bowl level. But not All-Pro. And I think that's the mistake that people made, is that's a really exclusive club. To be an All-Pro, repeatedly, the way Harrison Smith has been, that is not an easy feat to accomplish. You have to be a
second
really,
team,
really
though.
good.
I'll mention that. It wasn't first team, but the second team.
Still, though. Either
Still
way.
pretty good. That's the best, 44 players in the NFL? That's pretty good.
It's an exclusive club. I'm going to say it again. It's exclusive. So it's a pretty big deal. But no, I think you're right. You could definitely make an argument that Thielen should have been there.
Not as exclusive as the Athletic, but it's pretty exclusive.
Yeah, exactly. I think that Thielen... I don't want to say he should have, but like you said, you can make an argument. But I'm not surprised that he's not, with the way the Vikings looked at the end of the season. I think that's part of it, too, is they play better at the end of the season and get into the playoffs. I feel like they have... Maybe
if he wasn't an All-Pro, would they need to triple cover him?
That's a fair point. Or design the entire defense around it, because it sure looked like that was what was going on at the tail end of the season.
Probably Cousins struggled because he couldn't throw to Thielen.
Somebody else said he probably is not going to be able to throw to next year because he probably isn't going to be on the team, is Laquan Treadwell. But don't let that bum you out, Adam, because Laquan Treadwell, positive he's a number 1 wide receiver. Have you seen the quote?
Yeah, he also said he had a great season. The Vikings had a great season. Not sure if he was playing Madden or or
Here though, season
is
high
he more
touchdowns, season high catches, season high
great blocker.
career high yards, career high catches, career high touch. I mean, it's a career year for Laquan. It was a good year for Laquan.
Yeah, I think they'd be better off, getting rid of him and getting another number 11 in there who's from Minnesota, who's a free agent who can catch the ball
Really well. He's really good.
even
at catching.
even if he's a little more pricey than some of the other free agents. He can block too.
Yeah, he does everything well. He works hard. Teach the young bucks how to do it. Oh, I would love to see Larry Fitzgerald play for the Vikings. I would love it so much. What do you think the chances actually are? Do you think he signs a 1-year deal with the Vikings? That would be so great, but I don't want to get my hopes up, Adam. I don't want to be all pumped about Fitzgerald coming in, because this happened the last time he was a free agent. I got really excited thinking that he was coming here, and then he didn't.
I think it depends probably who the Vikings hire as their offensive coordinator. It depends who the Cardinals hire as their new head coach. It depends what Larry Fitzgerald wants to do for the rest of his career. If he wants to try and win a Super Bowl, which I think he would have a better shot with the Vikings than if he stayed with the Cardinals.
I thought you were going to go total downer and just trash the Vikings with that take just now, but continue. I agree. I think his chances are better with the Vikings than in Arizona.
Yeah, at least right now. Yeah, it could change next year. He could think differently. He could think that Josh Rosen can take a couple steps, get the right offensive coordinator in there, and turn things around.
Mm-hmm.
He really, really likes Arizona, so it's to convince him to come to Minnesota. It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
His dad obviously lives here still, not here, but Minnesota.
Yeah.
And he's from Minnesota,
So the connection's there. We would love to have him. He would be automatically
oh yeah,
the
him and Thielen
selling jersey in
Oh,
the
yeah.
state,
Oh,
and people would go ape.
And I think that's the kind of guy too you want to add. Those are the kind of guys you want to add to your locker room.
Yes.
That you need the leadership, and that can even help a guy like Kirk Cousins.
Yes.
So that Cousins and Thielen aren't arguing on the sidelines again.
Yeah. And you talked about it a little bit last week when we were discussing. I think that's a really important thing that nobody's talking about is the leadership in that locker room was gone. Or I mean, Terrence Newman, he's in the coach's room, not the locker room, and Robinson's gone.
It's a lot. It's different though.
It is. That's what I'm saying. And I feel like they lost not a core group, but there were important voices in that room
Jerry's
that were gone. Yeah, and then they were gone, and things go haywire. So I do think it is important, and I think that Larry Fitzgerald would be, a good fit. I don't think there's any place Larry Fitzgerald would be a bad fit, because I feel like he's the the consummate pro. And
a lot of people are saying that he had a down season last year. I think the Cardinals threw the fourth fewest times, so it's not really like he got a ton of opportunities. He had a rookie quarterback throwing him the ball.
I watched a couple of games.
I'm not gonna read too much into that, especially since he had 100 catches during the previous 3 years.
He still catches he's unbelievable.
Still way better than Laquan Treadwell.
Yeah,
he'll be better when he's 40. He's only 35. So.
You know what Larry Fitzgerald doesn't do? Drop passes when they hit him in the hands. He just catches those. Think about replacing him, Treadwell, this season. It might have been a little bit different. Realistically speaking, though, maybe more realistically speaking, where do you think they're going to go with that wide receiver spot? Do you think Treadwell is donezo and they shuffle BB in? Do you think they're going to draft somebody? What do you think the move is? Do you think it's a free agent shot? I mean, I'm fine with BB. I like BB. I think he's got.
Yep.
He's not.
Zylstra too.
Yeah.
I'm
meh with Zylstra, but
it's pretty cheap to cut Treadwell. They probably have to figure out some other things first.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's only a little over $2 million they'd have to eat if they cut him.
Yeah.
They probably first try and see what they can get for him. I don't know what they would be able to get for him. A 6th-round pick at best, maybe. Next year,
it's so tough. The only thing that would lead me to change that would be because it's so dumb, but all coaches in all professional sports have this thing where or GMs maybe is a better way to put it, where they see a player.
Trade him to the Raiders.
So where they see a player and they're like, we can get the best out of that player. So we'll take bad player / bad contract, and we'll be the ones that can get the best out of him. And it never works.
He already wore that Raiders hat when he was first, when he was drafted. And he got in trouble for that. So
we defended him, Adam. What were we thinking? If only we knew then what we know now.
Yeah, I just don't see any reason at all to bring him back. I don't know what he offers to the offense.
Yeah.
They benched him in week 16. That wasn't a benching though. It was because of scheme fit or whatever. Felt like BB could do better. They felt like the undrafted rookie
could do better than the first
coming off a hamstring injury. Could do better than the former first round pick who's been healthy all year. But he didn't get benched.
I just don't know what else you would need to see from him as a coaching staff that would give you any more.
This was supposed to be the year, like, you got Cousins in there, he's going to throw to him more because he's, Keenum never looked his way because he was always open.
Do you remember, Adam? Do you remember us saying, well, maybe he's right well this year? Because Cousins keeps finding him. Cousins just throws to the open guy. Maybe that was the problem, was Keenum wasn't looking. Wow.
I think I also remember, like, trying to put the brakes on it, like, being like, let's just wait and see.
I don't know. I don't remember that at all.
before put him on the Pro Bowl roster, but
it would have been so nice to see him work out.
Yes.
I mean,
nobody's not pulling for him, but if you don't, like with Cordell Patterson, that didn't work out.
No, sometimes it doesn't. You got to cut bait at a certain point.
Also, Cordell Patterson, better receiver than Laquan Treadwell.
If you can believe that.
And he's a horrible route runner.
But he is better.
He doesn't even know, like, this is like his 6th year in the league. He doesn't even know how to run a route. Just runs, like, screens and go routes.
That's it. Does that part frustrate you about Treadwell? That, like, even with all these different things, we just could not find a way to utilize this player at all? I mean, obviously, it's hard to find a way to utilize a wide receiver when he doesn't catch the football that you throw to him. So part of it's on him, obviously. Majority's on him, obviously. But do you think there was anything, like a gadget play, something? Because he's not like a Percy Harvin or Cordero Patterson.
No, he's not
that
quick.
guy. Yeah.
I feel like I think he used to be, like, in college, and then he broke his leg or something, and he lost, like, a bunch of his speed.
Interesting. Apparently. I did not know that.
I think so.
Because
he was
suffered an injury.
He was like the number one receiving recruit
a big
coming
deal,
out of high school. Went to Ole Miss.
Yes.
No shady business going on there.
Absolutely not. Totally on the up and up. I'm sure he was just.
He didn't take any money at all.
Just an amateur athlete.
To go from Chicago to Mississippi. No, he definitely didn't. I just
Chicago to Mississippi.
I think after the first 2 years, when you look at a guy like Stephon Diggs, who's a 5th round pick, comes in right away and makes a difference.
Yeah.
Even look at Chad Beebe. He caught some balls when he was in there. Didn't make a ton of plays, but
but wasn't on the field for nearly as many plays as
he was hurt. Yeah.
Treadwell was. Or even when he was healthy, but
Aldrick Robinson, he did better than Treadwell. Treadwell was probably the 6th best receiver.
4th, 7th, 6th, 7th. Yeah, that's.
I'll put him over Zylstra because Zylstra had like 2 catches. But.
Yeah. But I would listen to an argument about why Zylstra had a better season than Treadwell did. Yeah, it's crazy. And if you also like kind of take a step back and look at, like you said, he was a very high recruit coming out of high school. Diggs was the number 1 recruit coming out of high school. Like, my goodness, how much different. I mean, the talent is there, obviously, but can't get it to work. So
those things don't work out.
Yeah.
You know what? Troy Williamson is a better receiver than Laquan Treadwell. That's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know. That's maybe the best stat you can
all
say.
You need to know
is that Troy Williamson was, and not even like a little bit better, like tons. Yeah. Statistically, it is not even close. How much better Troy Williamson was than Treadwell. Bonkers. Anybody else that you think the Vikings should cut We'll just say that to start with. Anybody else you just want them to just cut loose and get rid of?
Mike Remmers.
Okay.
There's no reason to keep him around. Sendejo. I think they can cut him with no cap fee.
Yep.
So that's probably the way Harris played last year. That's pretty easy decision to make.
Right? Yeah, got to be the move.
Then I just think they probably have to restructure some contracts like Everson Griffin, Kyle Rudolph, maybe Xavier Rhodes.
Let's talk about
maybe
those
Riley
guys.
Reef.
Yeah, Reef. So get this. I wrote down some of these statistics. Cap hit stuff for 2019.
Yeah, he's getting a lot next
upcoming season. Reef is at $11.7 million cap hit.
That's got to go down.
That's crazy. So here are some of the higher ones here. Everson Griffin is 11.9. That also has to go down. Kyle Rudolph is at like 7.6 million, but for a tight end who that probably needs to go down.
If he can't take less, I feel like they might give him an extension to lower the cap hit this year.
Yeah, the restructure in that way. I think that maybe is the move they take with
Griffin
all
too.
of those guys. Yeah, with and Reef. Who else? Griffin I wanted to talk about for a little bit. So I think it was Courtney Cronin was saying that it's basically like, not that they will cut him, but that financially speaking, like that is a move that they are exploring, I guess. Where are you on that? Would you... Because I will say this, it bums me out and makes me very sad to like say it, but he came back not the same dude as the dude that left.
But I wouldn't.
Before that.
I don't blame him for that.
No.
Something pretty serious going on.
Yeah, there was a huge thing going on, and you got to think too that even though he's back, he's not all the way back. You know, if you're talking about like if we're considering that an injury, like it's
And again, I'm sure
rehabbing.
Brian Robinson not being there, that's just one of his buddies.
Mm-hmm.
That probably had a big impact on how he played and how he felt that year. But Weatherly played pretty good when he was out.
Yeah, and at 11.9 million, like we've seen what he's capable of, and Lord willing, he comes back and can do that. But at 11.9 million for next year, you got to think a restructure is coming, right?
At least give him something with like a bunch of incentives so that he can make that money. Because I think he can still probably come back and be a monster next year.
Yeah, I don't think it's time to sell the.
No, I don't.
Everson Griffin,
especially with the way Mike Zimmer likes him, I don't think cutting him is really that big of like they're thinking about that strongly. I don't think so. I think they're probably going to try and do everything possible to avoid that. Him. What? Who else? Yeah, we talked about Reef.
Reef was the one that stood out to me. I was shocked.
They have
Let me
to.
See, I have the list here. Daniil Hunter is at 13.5. Xavier Rhodes is 13 million. Diggs 12.5. Everson Griffin 11.9. Riley Reef 11.7.
They're gonna have to pay Thielen.
Smith, where's Thielen is only 8.3. Trey Waynes is at 9 million. Linval Joseph at 10.7.
That's a big one too. Trey Waynes, because they don't have to. They exercise his option, but they don't have to pick it up. I think they have until like May or June to do that. But
Sendejo 5.5 is an easy decision to me.
I did hear that they probably will keep Trey Waynes at that price because that's like the price to get a starting cornerback.
It is
these days. But at the same time, they have Mike Hughes and Holton Hill, and depending on how, I think it'll depend a lot on how much Mike Hughes has progressed, healing wise. If they want to take that risk and let Trey Waynes go,
definitely. Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if they don't need to make a decision on him once the season goes and he's that fifth year, that's it, and then he's basically a restricted free agent after that, or unrestricted free agent after next year.
Yeah, he'd be like Barr.
Yeah.
If they don't sign him to an extension.
So you conceivably the Vikings still have a full season to see where Hughes is at, where Holton Hill is at, and then make a decision based on how that and how Waynes has played, what they do in the future. There. Do you think Barr is a done deal and is not going to be on this football team anymore?
Get him out of here.
Yeah.
He's gonna be too expensive anyways. Everyone's like, "Oh, I need to re-sign him."
That's what I'm saying.
He made $12 million last year. He's not gonna want anything less.
I'm absolutely shocked at how many people Because to me, if you would have asked me earlier in the season, I would have told you that Vikings fans are going to be totally fine with him not showing up or not being here next year. That won't
He
be
had
an
3
issue.
sacks in the final 3 games, so all of a sudden...
Totally, and now all of a sudden people are like, you got to bring him. He's an important part of that defense. Like, I just don't see it like that at all.
What's the upside of keeping him? The possibility that he'll regain his pass rushing skills? The possibility, that's it.
It would be the same, like, not that he is big of a bust as Treadwell, but that hope, that idea of that hope is the same thing as bringing Treadwell back because you hope he can get to a viable receiver.
When instead you can save your money, draft someone in the first 3 rounds who has similar skills and the same potential.
Yes.
And maybe could work out in being a better fit for your defense than Barr.
Yes. For about a quarter of the price.
Because when Barr was out this season, not much changed with the Vikings. They still played very well.
In all things considered, what have we learned about the defense like this year overall? Cornerback depth is important. No matter, like, even though we weren't really believing Mike Zimmer when he told us he could never have enough, we now found out that he was right, and you need a bunch of them. And we maybe shouldn't be mad when he signs more because he's going to. They're going to sign some in this offseason. They're probably going to draft another one, maybe not in the first round. And the depth on defense was so important. I mean, granted, they didn't make the playoffs and blah, 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 but could you imagine how big of a disaster this season would have been if they don't have players like Holton Hill or a guy who, instead of Sendejo, plays safety, whose name I'm totally blanking on. Thank you. It would have been a complete disaster.
Even J-Ron Kearse, he did a bunch.
Yeah, man. Wilson, linebacker, all these, like, depth is so important on defense. So we have to, when we're talking about these moves that they're going to make, we also have to keep in mind that
it's just not a smart move for the Vikings to make to keep Barr.
100%. And that's what I'm saying. And when you have the depth that they have behind it, it's totally conceivable that they are going to draft somebody else that they can plug in. Maybe not to the level of Barr talent-wise, but definitely a serviceable backup.
They could even sign someone, like a free agent or something. But with the amount that Barr is probably going to want and what he's done, just go let him go somewhere else.
100%. That you nailed it right there. That's it. For what he's done and what he's about to ask for money-wise, there's not you. If you're the Vikings, to me, you shouldn't even be thinking about it.
Especially when they asked him, I think it was like the clean-out day or whatever press conference, and they're like, "You want to come back to the Vikings?" And he was like, "Sure."
That's the spirit.
Very enthusiastic.
That's the fight that we need on this squad, Barr.
Latavius Murray's probably not coming back. I think I saw that he wants to be a full-time running back somewhere else.
Can't blame him for that.
I don't know who's going to give that to him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can't blame him either because that's what I feel like. That's what he came here for.
And then they drafted. A guy who was better than he was.
So.
Whoops, sorry. Yeah, Murray is another one that I would like to see him go back, but there's no way he's coming back. Yeah, man, the Barr, I just don't see...
The team's going to look very different next year.
Yes, very, very different. And then also from the offensive coordinator standpoint, I mean, we could be looking at like a totally revamped football team next year, which kind of worries me because I thought they were pretty good. But
they'll still have
a couple of tweaks.
They'll still have the core guys with Thielen and Diggs and Cook and Cousins.
And that, Adam, is my goal for the offseason, is to remind Vikings fans and myself and you that the core, the championship window that we talked about last year that we were so excited about, that is not closed yet.
No.
There's a couple tweaks. Window's still open. Don't freak out.
How old is
reload. It's going to be
How old is Danielle Hunter? Danielle Hunter's 24?
Dude, all those guys. Kendricks, young. Wayne's young. Rhodes, young. Smith, young. There's so much football left for this incredible core group of players that we have.
You could even say that Cousins isn't even in the prime of his career yet.
Yeah, you could say that. You definitely could say that.
He just turned 30, I think.
Yeah, not too long ago. Oh, yeah. Or 31. Yeah, 30. Pop quiz. How much, percentage-wise, of the salary cap will Kirk Cousins be responsible for next season? At this point, just guess. Throw them out there.
10%.
15%. of the cap, Adam.
Yeah, because it's going up again.
29 million, 15%.
And it's going up again. It's going up by like 10 million.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like we said.
And
every
so
year
you know what
it
it's
goes
going to
up.
be? Yeah, and every year it's going to be less of that percentage, and every year it's going to look more affordable, which...
You're like, oh, super cheap.
That's what we said.
And Russell Wilson's probably going to get a contract extension this year that's going to be bigger.
Yep.
Cam Newton's probably going to get one that's going to be bigger. Andrew Luck. All these guys.
All these guys.
Everyone's going to be like, oh, he gets $84 million. And like, well, it doesn't really matter anymore how much he gets paid because that's what everyone gets paid. So.
Exactly, because that's just what it gets paid. Well, all right. My family's coming in the house, I guess. No, I just looks like we're good. So
Okay.
Good talk, Adam.
You continue.
I will talk to you next week.
Okay.
And Skol Vikes.
Goal.
All right, later, bud.